Hello again, I'm Robert Fitton, and before I start the video, I just want to give you my top five-star tribute albums of all time. Five-star cover albums. Okay, so now that I've done that, we can start the video. Yes, what is exactly the point of tribute and cover albums? Are there any that are actually any good all the way through? I'm probably thinking no. I've never really heard one that just blows me away and I'm like, oh wow, this thing is great. Every song is just really nails it. Wow, hey. So what is the point? Well, obviously, you know, the cynical side of me, which is pretty much 96% of my makeup, is saying that it's basically, it's the music industry, it's a business, it's to make money. You got the instant name recognition of the band that they're paying tribute to, or the cover songs or whatever, and you've got the songs that everybody already knows. So it's an easy money maker. I'm not going to use the word cash grab because people get very, very upset when I say the word cash grab, even though it would definitely be what would be considered a cash grab. But tribute albums, cover albums. Has there ever been any? I've never been a fan of these things. I don't think they're necessary. I don't really get the point. I mean, there are, I won't say none of them. There are ones that do kind of serve a purpose and have a point, like Sweet Relief, a tribute album for Victoria Williams. Now, Victoria Williams was more of a songwriter. People didn't know who she was mostly, and so when bands like Pearl Jam, who was at the height of their popularity at the time, and the Lemonheads and the Jayhawks and Buffalo Tom all get together, and Lou Reed and everybody, and does her songs, it really kind of exposes them to a whole new audience. So I kind of get like ones that are like Sweet Relief. Plus that was done for a purpose. It was to raise money for multiple sclerosis, which unfortunately Victoria Williams was diagnosed with at the time. So I get the Sweet Relief one. It wasn't the greatest renditions in the world. And the Pearl Jam one I know got a lot of airplay, so got a lot of exposure for her. So that one actually, okay, there are ones like that that actually do have a point. But what is the point of like Stoned Immaculate, the music of the Doors, where we're just all going to do Doors songs? And I've never even opened this. It's been sealed for like 30 years. What is the point of Kiss My Ass? Remember this? Silly ass. They couldn't even be bothered to make decent artwork. That looks like it was done on somebody's home computer. Kiss My Ass, where you've got Lenny Kravitz doing Deuce was okay. Garth Brooks' Hard Luck Woman was just kind of that was a given. You know, you're going to have the country guy at the time do the country song. Gin Blossom's Sweet 16, or Christine 16 made no sense. Toad the Wet Sprocket, Rock and Roll All Night, sounded like a joke. Extreme doing Strutter. Anything Extreme does, obviously, is not going to be very good. They're Extreme. I mean, they don't do good music. It's kind of like their brand. They are horrible. But yeah, Kiss My Ass, this wasn't very good. You know, tribute albums like this, like I said, they have one or two decent songs on there. The rest is horrible. You know, Encomium, remember this? The tribute to Led Zeppelin. I used to have to play on the radio when this came out. And yes, this is an 8-track, a promotional 8-track of this that they gave out with. And when you play it, it's just blank. Perfect for a tribute album. Yeah, but a tribute to Led Zeppelin, Encomium, came out in, I think, 95 or something like that. Had Hootie and the Blowfish doing Hey, Hey, What Can I Do? And we had to play that all the time. I think Stone Temple Pilots is on here doing Dancing Days. The original, all these things do is annoy me because it just makes me want to hear the original. That's all it does. You hear Hootie and the Blowfish doing Led Zeppelin, you just want to hear Led Zeppelin. Now, I'm not saying there's no such thing as a good cover song. About, I don't know, 5%, maybe 8% of cover songs are great. You know, they really take a different take on the song, or they really make it their own. Probably one of the best examples of an excellent cover song that I can think of is Tina Turner's Proud Mary. I mean, there's an instance where the cover song is completely different from the original. She totally does her own thing with it. She's made it an iconic version of that song, adding in the whole thing about, you know, we don't never do nothing nice and easy, and we do it nice and rough, and that whole thing, and just a completely different arrangement. It doesn't bastardize the original song. It doesn't take anything away from the original song. You can still enjoy the original from Creedence Clearwater Revival. You can listen to them back to back. They sound like completely different songs and are both great in their own right. That's an excellent cover song, and it doesn't come from a covers album. It doesn't come from some Creedence Clearwater tribute album that was knocked out in like 2 weeks or something like that. It was a well thought out, well arranged cover song, and there are great cover songs, but for the other like 92%, yeah, I could forget about it. And there's certain things that like sort of like call for a cover version, like blues songs that have been covered a million times, where you don't even know who did the original anymore because there's 105 different versions of it. I get the blues covers. They're not even really covers. They're just kind of traditional songs at that point, at least according to the credits on Led Zeppelin albums. Those are just traditional. That had no writer. Yeah, just give us the money. But yeah, I get that. And I also understand why somebody would do like cover songs in concert, because maybe you can't see the original band anymore, or tribute bands that go out and play. Sometimes the tribute bands that go out and play in bars and stuff are better than the actual group, because you go see them live and they've done these songs a million times. They don't care anymore, so they're just going through the motions. Whereas a tribute band will be like young and hungry and they got something to prove, so they're probably going to put on a better show than the actual group themselves. So some of the tribute bands live are better than the original band that you would see live currently. So I totally get live. I totally get doing like a one-off cover song, but these full-on tribute albums, they gotta stop. Black Sabbath, the Nativity in Black, again, a couple of decent covers, the rest just a bunch of nonsense. Not a big fan of the cover songs where they're ironic covers, where you've got the loud punk band or the obnoxious rock rap group like Limp Bizkit doing George Michael's Faith, or you've got the pop punk band, whoever that was in the late 90s when they were just coming out with them one after the other, that did the Boys of Summer, where it's sped up. I can see you, you best get to sucked. You had the ska group, whoever that was, doing Come On Eileen. You got that god-awful, what are they called, Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, that just do whole albums where it's the same joke over and over again. We're going to do a sped-up, fast version of like an AM light rock song, like Danny's song or your song from Elton John, somebody's song. I don't know whose song it is. I don't know who those albums are for, but yeah, it's all horrible. It's all completely unnecessary. And I get why they're made, again, to make some money off name recognition. I guess what I don't get is why they're purchased. Why would you want to buy something like that? Remember when the groups do like a tribute album like Guns N' Roses' Spaghetti Incident? Is this anyone's favorite Guns N' Roses album? This is just completely pointless all the way through. I've talked about this album before. Their version of Hair of the Dog. Now you're messing with a son of a bitch. Just over the top. You know, and then of course they've got to do the ironic cover too. And Since I Don't Have You. Starting out, oh my God, I can't believe Guns N' Roses are doing the Skyliners. Oh, my mind's blown. Weezer and their whole like yacht rock thing, that sucked. They go, well, we're Weezer, we're so hip and cool, but we're gonna do yacht rock songs because what? You know, I don't care. Why? You know, and then you got the people, oh my God, did you hear their version of Africa from Toto? Oh, my mind is blown. Why? Why would your mind be blown over something like that? Going back even before that to the 70s, you have like things like David Bowie's Pinups. Now, David Bowie's 70s albums, I think, are on a higher level, so obviously his cover album is going to be on a little higher level than most covers albums. But still, it's probably not anybody's favorite. It's probably most people's least favorite David Bowie album of the 70s, especially if you already know the original songs. Now, maybe if you didn't know a lot of the original versions of his covers on that album, you might think that they're great, and David Bowie's got some great songs on there. But if you know the originals, it's kind of unnecessary. It's kind of, you know, just kind of there. Like I said, definitely my least favorite David Bowie album of the 70s. It just seems like it's just inessential, really. And then you have John Lennon's Rock and Roll. Definitely inessential. Definitely my least favorite John Lennon studio musical album, anyway, of his career. And he's just screaming his way through these old 50s and early 60s songs. Stand By Me, I think, was a single. He just screams his way through that. He does like some, you know, Chuck Berry on here and does, Buddy Holly and what. You already know all these songs if you're a fan of early rock and roll music. You didn't need John Lennon blowing through them in a weekend or whenever he recorded these. There's a whole bizarre story about the master tapes of this or anyway. But I don't think anybody is like, I want to listen to some John Lennon tonight and goes reaching for the Rock and Roll album. It's just, again, just seems completely unnecessary when it's all said and done. Like I said, about 10 to 15%, did I say 10 to 15? I meant 5 to 8% of cover songs are actually decent. Sometimes you will find them on a covers album or tribute album. Most of the time you just find them on an artist album as like a, you know, just like a track on there. And usually it's the ones where you don't even realize they're a cover song. Like Girls Just Want to Have Fun from Cyndi Lauper or something like that, or whatever, or Nothing Compares to You from Sinead O'Connor, you know, that kind of a thing. Here's a really good one. If I Were a Carpenter, again, you got one great song on here, and that's Sonic Youth's version of the Carpenters' Superstar. But then again, Superstar from the Carpenters was already a cover version because it was a Leon Russell song. It was originally Groupie. But yeah, Superstar, Sonic Youth, they really take that and turn it into this kind of otherworldly thing and really make it their own. So basically, yeah, you just need the single. You don't need the whole tribute album. So I get cover songs, but not like cover albums. Not a fan. And the whole one that really just blew the lid off this for me and inspired me to make this video asking what is the point, I just heard it recently, is this one. A metal tribute to Van Halen. This has got to be one of the most pointless, one of the worst tribute cover albums that I've ever heard. And what is the point? Well, you may say, well, the point is it's these metal bands and they're doing Van Halen songs. So it's metal bands like, you know, Pantera or Sepultura or Carcass or, you know, something like that, taking these Van Halen songs and just cranking them up to metal level and just making them loud and aggressive. No, that's not what this is. There's really not a lot of metal bands on here. These are basically hard rock bands doing covers of songs originally done by a hard rock band. So again, what is the point? This thing was originally released in 2000, a bit of a different configuration with a couple of different tracks with this ridiculous cover art. It was then re-released in, I believe, like 2004, then re-released again in 2020, and now re-released once again, just either late last year or early this year with this beautiful color vinyl variant, which is the only cool thing about the entire album. I got to listen to this thing all the way through. No, I do not own it. I would not purchase something like this. That's why I'm showing you the JPEG. But yeah, it's terrible. And it really made me think, you know, I've heard some bad tribute albums. I've heard some pointless tribute albums. This one really kind of takes the cake. And I recently heard another one from Molly Hatchet. There's, of course, the Dolly Parton Rockstar thing that just completely ridiculous. And if it wasn't for like the pointlessness of doing Van Halen songs when they're already great to begin with, the sound quality of these, they all have this same sort of production thing where it sounds like this effect on Adobe Audition called dynamics processing, where it sounds like everything is just cranked up to this brick-walled kind of sound, kind of sounding like a really, really enhanced, kind of overdriven FM radio sound, where everything sounds like this and it's just really cranked up. Hey, it's the Hot 5 at 5 coming up. Don't forget to get your vote in and be registered to win those Godsmack tickets coming up on June 15th on the Hot 5 at 5 on Hot Rock 105. It's that kind of a thing, where it's just all really cranked up like this. Now, of course, a lot of that has to do with the way that the announcer is speaking. In the radio industry, we refer to that as called puking. When you talk like this, but then the enhancement even brings it up even more. So there's no real dynamic. It all just starts to sound like... Now imagine that kind of sound done to vocals. You know, instead of, got it bad, got it bad, got it bad. I'm hot for teacher. I realize I can't sing. But the point is that sounds clear. You know, it turns out like this. I'm disaster, young one to me. That's the way these vocals all sound. Consonants are thrown out the window, and you just get this tone like this for everything. Not only the vocals, but the guitar, the music, everything is just blown the hell out. Why the hell do these... It's like every tribute album in the last 15 years sounds like that. Why? What producers or engineers are hearing that and going, nailed it. That's the sound we want. I just really don't get it. And what you have here is you have singers like Stephen Pearcy of Rat, you've got Paul Di'Anno from Iron Maiden, you've got Fee Waybill from the Tubes, you got Janie Lane, so you know this is an older release that's just got re-released. You got all these people teamed up with these different guitarists like Gilby Clarke, Doug Aldrich, and Bruce Kulick, and Dweezil Zappa, and all these people. George Lynch is on it, just teaming them up. And then everything just sounds like shit. Now, a lot of these people are a little past their prime at this point, and that's fine. I get it. Everybody gets older if they're lucky anyway. I'm older, you know. I'm past my prime in a couple of ways. It happens when you get older. That's life. But what really makes this kind of a cringy kind of listen is you've got these people who are a little past their prime. Like, you've got great guitarists on here, a little past it, who were trying to imitate a phenomenal guitarist who at the time of the recordings was in his prime. So it really doesn't make sense to put yourself out like that. I mean, some of the guitarists do, you know, like, these are great guitarists, so some of them do excellent jobs, like Doug Aldrich on I'm the One. Great guitar work on that. Not better than Eddie Van Halen's original, so what's the point? You've got vocalists who were trying to emulate one of the most charismatic lead vocalists of all of rock music of all time, David Lee Roth. By the way, this is all David Lee Roth Van Halen, no Sammy Hagar. Nobody's going to try to match his vocals. So David Lee Roth, not exactly known for being completely on point, in tune, hitting those high notes, full-throated, you know, vocals, blowing you away. He's known for his charisma, his charismatic vocal delivery. You hear him and you know that's David Lee Roth. So why in the world would you want to try to imitate that? And that's what people are doing here. So even songs like Unchained and Hot for Teacher that have the parts where he's talking, you know, and, oh, look at that, you'll get some leg tonight for sure. The vocalists on those tracks try to do it the exact same way he did. It's like, that's David Lee Roth doing that. That's total David Lee Roth. Why are you trying to sound exactly like David Lee Roth? Even when David Lee Roth does a how or hey or whatever, they do it the exact same time, try to do it the exact same way. It just sounds ridiculous. And when it's gone through all that horrible processing, it just makes it sound even more laughable. The whole thing is just, I mean, I was listening to this with people, we're just laughing at it. We're just making fun of it. It's just stupid. Even the panning, like at the beginning of Unchained where the guitar's only on the left channel, they even redo that. You know, they just try to make this sound as much like Van Halen as absolutely possible, not putting any kind of their own feel onto it, not putting their own spin on it. They just want it to make, it's just like karaoke Van Halen, and it is absolutely abysmal, awful all the way through, and utterly pointless. All it does is bring out how charismatic and how like original David Lee Roth was as a vocalist, and how absolutely phenomenal Eddie Van Halen was as a guitarist, and Alex Van Halen was as a drummer. Check out if you because it's streamable, check out the version on here of Hot for Teacher. The drumming on the beginning of here, I don't know who it is. I mean, the vocalist is John Corabi, the guitarist is Bruce Kulick. Doesn't say who does the drums. But the drumming on here sounds, you know how the Hot for Teacher starts with that really just like totally just raw drumming, that real tight sound, and it's just like, wow, what is this? You know, the first time you hear it. On this tribute, it sounds like somebody's just knocked a cardboard box down a flight of stairs. I mean, you wouldn't even be able to tell what they're trying to do. It's so bad. If you check out one song from this tribute album, make sure it's Hot for Teacher. That one pretty much encapsulates everything I'm talking about here with these god-awful tribute albums, and they just gotta stop. Especially these cheap ones like this. It really, again, you're listening to this and you're just like, wow, I really wish I was listening to Van Halen instead of this mess. And again, they're not the only band that's been murdered like this on record. You have, you know, all these other tribute albums, and I'm not going into it. There's been so many over the years. They're all equally ridiculous. And I just don't get the point at all. So, I mean, have you heard this album? Do you like this album? Are there tribute albums out there that are actually great all the way through? Really add something to the original songs. Please don't say Weezer. Let me know in the comments section. But yeah, I really don't see the point of buying or owning or even listening to more than once just for a laugh some of these god-awful tribute albums. I'm Robert Fithen. Thank you so much for watching.